Amazingly, while the US is denying visas for Chinese visitors to the Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas, the complete opposite is happening here in China. China is opening up, building even more new and incredible infrastructure, much of it in the Greater Bay Area where I live, and thousands of visitors, delegates and international leaders are coming to see for themselves. There's been a lot of talk about technology transfer and IP theft recently, and then there's the Trump threats of additional tariffs looming large. This unprecedented denial of visas is going unremarked by the US authorities. No mention by the government has been made and no reasoning for the rejection of visas to people who hold invitations to attend an annual event which is described as one of the world's most important fairs. This comes at a time when 30% of the exhibitors at the show are Chinese companies and at a time when Chinese innovation has overtaken and is running away from the rest of the world. Global Times states this large-scale visa denial has left many, including the organizers, stunned. And there's no doubt this, if it continues with the de-Chinicization, will contribute to the further decline of global cooperation. While, as I said, the complete opposite is happening in China. US companies are welcomed. The recent Canton Fair had over 200,000 visitors, and many of them from the USA. In fact, there's nothing at all other than some US restrictions stopping most businesses in the US coming to China, investing in China, doing business in China, and learning what cooperation is all about. But perhaps, before they do, they should think about looking at a conference that's taking place right now. The Understanding China Conference, which is happening in Guangzhou today, is a great starting point. It was honored with a letter from Xi Jinping stressing China looks forward to working with all other countries to create an enabling environment and conditions for development to tackle the many difficulties and challenges and facilitate the modernization of all countries, featuring peaceful development, mutually beneficial cooperation and common prosperity. You can't get a better description than this for the goals of a powerful country. If we're honest, most of us don't understand China. We rely on media for our information, and we all know that media isn't telling us what we need to know. So it's important, if we really want to learn what China is up to take a look at what China says it will do, then watch what China actually does. In order to prove to ourselves that China does what it says, we should look back in time to see what they said they would do and take a look at what's been achieved. China was polluted. They said they'd clean up, and they did. China had corruption. They said they'd clean up, and they did. China had poverty. They said they'd alleviate, and they did. China's education system wasn't up to global standards. They said they'd lift it, and they did. China said it wanted to help the developing world, and this is something they're doing. The world needs climate action, and one country is doing more than the rest of the world combined. That country is China. The world needs peace, mutual prosperity, and global improvements. China is delivering. China invited the leaders of the entire continent of Africa to Beijing. 53 of the 54 African nations attended. USA's response was to send Joe Biden to Africa, where he is this week. Let's see how well that works out for him. A couple of years ago, Wang Yi toured several of the Pacific Island nations with a common development vision to address the problems of poverty, climate change, and trade. The US responded with immediate offers of aid where they hadn't before and reopened embassies they'd closed before. That's all very well and good, but it hasn't stopped Pacific Island nations visiting China, as Samoa's leader did last week and Fiji's leader did in August. Remembering that just a short while ago, Xi Jinping was in Latin America, during which he signed over 60 agreements and attended more than 40 events, confirming that this was no simple fly through the region. This was a genuine development and a huge step towards ongoing cooperation. In Dongguan, China inaugurated the China Latin American Technology Transfer Center, allowing for better integration between the Greater Bay Area's innovations and Latin America's needs. The focus of this conference was on new energy, next generation information technology, disaster prevention and emergency response. Unfortunately, there is some pushback on this, being in the apparent backyard of a certain superpower. But this initiative demonstrates a genuine win-win for Latin America after about 400 years of win-lose systems. Spain, France, the UK and others didn't get rich and powerful by sharing resources and technology. They did so by exploiting them. The US has been doing the same for 70 or more years too. China's doing the opposite. And a great example is the granting of tariff-free trades to 33 of the world's least developed countries, which started on December the 1st. China's contribution to global development, modernization, climate action and poverty alleviation isn't just benefiting China and the Chinese, it's a global phenomenon. Something the US seems very reluctant to do is something China is now doing, discussing innovation, sharing technology, exploring cooperation, mutual development and high-quality development. No wonder representatives of Central and South America, as well as the Caribbean, are coming to China. This week, 600 delegates are attending the Understanding China conference, and it's being held in Guangzhou, where I am right now. It has the theme, Carry Through the Reform to the End, Chinese modernization and new opportunities for world development. And if I can quote one line which encapsulates what China aims to achieve, it would be this one from Xu Weixin, president of the China Institute for Innovation and Development Strategy. She said, through civilizational exchange, the Understanding China Conference seeks to highlight China's responsibility and wisdom in promoting global welfare. Imagine that, a superpower, which there can be no doubt China is, which promotes global welfare from the Pacific to the Caribbean, from Africa to Argentina. If that doesn't excite the global majority, I really don't know what will.